The WNBA just got caught in the biggest officiating scandal of 2025, and the Indiana Fever are at the center of it all. What started as a playoff series between Indiana and Las Vegas has turned into something much darker. A controversy so explosive that even league officials can't ignore it anymore. Stephanie White's post-game press conference from last night didn't just break the internet. It forced the WNBA to launch an emergency investigation into referee bias that could change everything we know about professional basketball. But before we dive into the shocking evidence that's emerged in the last 48 hours, make sure to hit that like button if you think the refs need to be held accountable for what they've done. The numbers don't lie, and what they reveal is absolutely mind-blowing. A minus 31 free throw discrepancy across 3 games isn't just bad officiating. It's statistically impossible without deliberate manipulation. Think about that for a second. The Indiana Fever, a team that attacks the rim more aggressively than almost any other squad in the league, somehow ended up with 31 fewer free throw attempts than their opponents. That's not basketball, that's a setup. And the worst part? The league knew about it the entire time. Internal sources are now revealing that multiple teams filed complaints about this exact referee crew before the playoffs even started. But the WNBA ignored every single warning. What happened next would shock everyone who thought they understood how deep this conspiracy really goes. Yesterday morning, a leaked audio recording surfaced featuring one of the referees from the series discussing making sure Vegas advances during what they thought was a private conversation. The recording, which has now been authenticated by 3 independent sources, captures the official saying, quote, "We know what needs to happen," unquote, just hours before Game 2. The referee in question has been immediately suspended pending investigation, but the damage is already done. This isn't just about missed calls anymore. This is about the integrity of the entire sport being compromised at the highest level. But that wasn't the whole story, and what Stephanie White revealed in her extended interview today changes everything we thought we knew. She pulled out her tablet during the press conference and showed frame-by-frame video evidence of 27 uncalled fouls against Indiana players in Game 3 alone. 27. Each one documented with timestamps and rule violations clearly marked. The most egregious? Asia Wilson literally throwing Aaliyah Boston to the ground with both hands. No whistle. Meanwhile, Lexi Hull got called for a foul when she was standing 3 feet away from the nearest Vegas player. White's presentation was so thorough that even reporters who typically defend the league were left speechless. One veteran journalist called it, quote, "the most damning evidence of referee corruption I've seen in 30 years covering sports," unquote. The financial implications are staggering, and nobody saw this coming. Vegas had massive betting odds in their favor for Games 2 and 3, despite Indiana winning Game 1 convincingly. Now, federal investigators are looking into unusual betting patterns that emerged right before those games, with millions of dollars suddenly flowing toward Vegas victories. One sports betting analyst discovered that 92% of all prop bets involving free throw differentials went heavily in Vegas's favor just hours before tip-off. That's not normal market movement, that's insider information. The FBI has now opened a formal investigation into potential match fixing, and 3 major sportsbooks have already suspended all WNBA betting until further notice. Here's where things get even crazier. Lexi Hull, who played through a severe back injury that would have sidelined most players, has become the unlikely hero of this entire scandal. Despite being targeted by officials throughout the series, she dropped 16 points in Game 3 while literally unable to stand up straight during timeouts. Her teammates had to help her walk to the bench between quarters, yet she still managed to tie a Fever playoff record with 8 3-pointers across 2 games. The medical staff has now revealed she was playing with 2 herniated discs and shouldn't have even been cleared to travel, let alone play. But Hull knew something the rest of us are just learning. This series was about more than basketball. It was about exposing a system designed to keep certain teams down while elevating others. The latest development just dropped an hour ago, and it's absolutely explosive. 3 more referees from different crews have come forward as whistleblowers, claiming they were pressured to call games in favor of, quote, marketable teams, unquote, throughout the entire 2025 season. They've provided text messages, emails, and recorded phone calls that paint a picture of systematic corruption going back months. One referee claims they were told their playoff assignments depended on, quote, understanding which outcomes benefit the league, unquote. Another says they were threatened with termination after refusing to make predetermined calls in a regular season game. The WNBA Players Association has called an emergency meeting for tomorrow morning, and multiple sources say a potential strike is on the table if immediate action isn't taken. What makes this even more shocking is what we're learning about the Vegas organization's involvement. Internal emails leaked this morning show Aces executives discussing, quote, referee relationships, unquote, and mentioning specific officials by name who could, quote, be counted on, unquote. One email explicitly states that certain referees should be assigned to their playoff games because they, quote, understand the assignment, unquote. The Aces have released a statement denying any wrongdoing, but the evidence is overwhelming. Former players are now coming forward with their own stories of suspicious officiating in games against Vegas, with one retired all-star saying she was told by a referee to, quote, stop complaining or it will get worse, unquote, during a 2023 playoff game. The fan reaction has been nothing short of revolutionary. Gainbridge Fieldhouse erupted last night when supporters started chanting, investigate the refs, for 5 straight minutes, forcing a delay in the fourth quarter. Social media has exploded with hashtag Refgate trending number one worldwide for 3 consecutive days. Even celebrities are weighing in, with multiple NBA stars calling for a complete overhaul of WNBA officiating. The most powerful moment came when a young fan's sign went viral. It simply read, "We deserve fair basketball," with a picture of Lexi Hull playing through obvious pain while refs ignored blatant fouls against her. But here's the part nobody's talking about yet. The economic impact of this scandal could destroy the WNBA's growth trajectory completely. Major sponsors are already reconsidering their partnerships, with 2 Fortune 500 companies reportedly planning to pull their funding if the investigation confirms referee corruption. Television ratings for the playoffs have actually increased by 40% since the scandal broke. But that's not the kind of attention the league wants. Season ticket sales for 2026 have been frozen at multiple franchises as fans demand accountability before committing their money. One sports economist estimates the league could lose up to $200 million in revenue if this isn't resolved quickly and transparently. The technical analysis of the games reveals even more disturbing patterns. Advanced metrics show that questionable calls against Indiana occurred at statistically significant moments, specifically when they had momentum or were on scoring runs. In Game 2, the Fever were called for 6 fouls in a 3-minute span while leading by 8 points. They didn't score for the rest of the quarter. In Game 3, every time Indiana got within 2 possessions, a whistle would mysteriously appear. The probability of these patterns occurring randomly is less than 0.001%, according to 3 independent statisticians who analyzed the data. Stephanie White's courage in speaking out has inspired other coaches to break their silence. 4 head coaches have now confirmed they were warned by league officials not to publicly criticize referees this season or face substantial fines. One coach, speaking anonymously, revealed they were fined $50,000 for simply asking why a call wasn't reviewed during a regular season game. Another says they have a folder with over 300 questionable calls from this season alone, but were afraid to go public until White opened the door. The Coaches Association is now considering legal action against the league for suppressing their First Amendment rights. The player safety angle makes this scandal even more serious. Medical professionals reviewing game footage have identified at least 15 instances where Indiana players could have been seriously injured due to uncalled flagrant fouls. Aaliyah Boston was evaluated for a concussion after being elbowed in the head with no call. Another player required x-rays on her ribs after being body-checked into the scorer's table while refs looked the other way. The WNBA's own concussion protocol wasn't followed in multiple instances because the hits weren't called as fouls. This isn't just about fair competition anymore. It's about the league deliberately endangering players to manipulate game outcomes. International basketball organizations are now watching this scandal closely. FIBA officials have privately expressed concern about the integrity of American women's basketball, with one European League executive saying they're reconsidering partnerships with the WNBA until this is resolved. Several international players are reportedly having second thoughts about joining the league next season, worried about being subjected to biased officiating if they don't play for the right team. This could devastate the WNBA's global expansion plans and set women's basketball back decades. The timeline of events reveals careful planning behind this conspiracy. Sources indicate that certain referee assignments were made months in advance, specifically for potential playoff matchups. The same crew that officiated the controversial Indiana-Vegas series had previously worked 8 Vegas games during the regular season. Vegas won all 8 with significant free throw advantages. That's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. Database analysis shows this crew called 73% more fouls against Vegas opponents than the league average, a statistical anomaly that should have triggered automatic review, but somehow never did. Former referees are now speaking out about the toxic culture within WNBA officiating. One retired official with 20 years' experience says they left the league because they refused to participate in what they called, quote, outcome management, unquote. They describe meetings where supervisors would hint at preferred results without explicitly stating them, creating plausible deniability while sending clear messages. Another former ref claims they were blacklisted from playoff assignments after calling a fair game that resulted in an upset victory against a marquee team. The legal ramifications are just beginning to unfold. 3 law firms have announced class action lawsuits on behalf of fans who purchased tickets expecting fair competition. Indiana Fever season ticket holders are seeking full refunds plus damages, arguing they were sold entertainment that was predetermined without their knowledge. Sports law experts say these cases could set precedent for how professional sports leagues are held accountable for competitive integrity. One attorney compared it to the quiz show scandals of the 1950s, saying, quote, "When you sell competition but deliver scripted entertainment, that's fraud," unquote. The most heartbreaking part of this entire scandal is what it's done to the players who gave everything on that court. Lexi Hull's career-defining performance has been overshadowed by controversy she had nothing to do with. Young players who dreamed of WNBA glory are now questioning whether their hard work even matters if games can be decided by corrupt officials. The psychological impact on athletes who've dedicated their lives to this sport only to discover it might be rigged is immeasurable. But there's hope emerging from this darkness. The scandal has united fans, players, and coaches like never before. Rival fan bases are standing together demanding reform. Players from opposing teams are supporting each other publicly, recognizing that they're all victims of the same corrupt system. Even Vegas players have privately expressed discomfort with how their victories have been tainted, with one starter reportedly considering requesting a trade because they, quote, "want to win fairly or not at all," unquote. The investigation's preliminary findings are expected next week, but sources inside the league office say the evidence is so overwhelming that major changes are inevitable. There's talk of implementing an independent oversight committee for officiating, similar to what other major sports have adopted. Technology solutions like automated foul detection systems are being fast-tracked for implementation. Some are even calling for a complete restart of the playoffs, though that seems unlikely given the logistical challenges. Stephanie White's legacy will forever be tied to this moment when she chose truth over comfort, integrity over silence. Her press conference didn't just expose referee bias, it sparked a revolution in women's professional basketball. Years from now, we'll look back at this as the moment everything changed, when one coach's courage forced an entire league to confront its darkest secrets. The question now isn't whether the WNBA will clean up this mess. They have no choice if they want to survive. The question is whether the damage already done can ever truly be repaired. Trust, once broken, is nearly impossible to rebuild. Every close call, every controversial whistle will now be viewed through the lens of this scandal. The league that was supposed to showcase the best of women's basketball has instead become a cautionary tale about what happens when corruption goes unchecked. Let us know in the comments if you think the WNBA can recover from this scandal. And don't forget to subscribe for updates as this story continues to develop. Because one thing's for certain, this is far from over.